Oh, hello, everyone. It's Counselor at Large Julia Mejia. You're tuning in to Woke Women Wednesdays. It's July the 21st. Can you believe it? We're halfway through the year. You're tuning into Woke Women Wednesdays, where I'm your host at 8 o'clock at night. And then you know that on Wednesday mornings at 11, my sister in service, Senator Diane Wilkerson, kicks us off with all things woke. My guest tonight is on her way, but while we wait for her to show up, I'll just talk a little bit about some of the things that are happening on the council. During the summer, things get a little bit slower. People are taking summer breaks, and so we had a city council meeting today. And the next city council meeting isn't until August, I believe, the 18th. Wow, right? But that doesn't mean just because we're not having council meetings that we're not doing council business. So if you need anything, make sure that you reach out to your district counselors or contact our office at 617-635-4217. You can also reach us at julia.mejia, MEJIA, at boston.gov. Whether it's a constituent issue, from issues around housing, if you are dealing with a pothole, you're wanting to get connected to resources. We're the chair of small business and workforce development. So a lot of the work that we do on the council is to support our small businesses. So if you're a business owner and are looking for any support, please be sure to reach out to us. We have a lot of programming out of our office, whether it be creating opportunities for people to develop their skill set, connecting you to resources around trainings, and sometimes even dollars, because we know we need that money to make some money. So we have Cisnel Bias, who's a part of our team, who is always working on making sure that you have the resources that you need to be able to grow your business. I'm going to just do a quick call and see if my host is, see who is on their way. Hopefully she'll be joining us soon. Let me just call her. Because, when you're running for office, you're all over the city, from campaign forums to community events to Zooms to door knocking. Hi, I sent you the link via email and text, so hopefully you're going to be able to join us.
I'm trying to jump on now. It's saying, something about I have to use Chrome and download.
Okay, all right.
Firefox maybe, because I'm on Mac.
All right.
Nope.
Okay, when you get on, you'll get on. I'm here waiting for you, my love, okay? Okay, baby. Okay, bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. So my guest is on her way. But in the meantime, I see we have one viewer. Please say hello in the chat so I can see who you are. We're excited to have you here. You're tuning into Woke Women Wednesdays, when we talk about all things Black and Brown, the breakdown. I am Julia Mejia, your at-large city councilor. This is a platform for us to elevate all the dope things that women of color are doing across the city of Boston, and sometimes even nationally. So tonight we're going to be joined by District 7 candidate Tanya Anderson, who will be joining us shortly once she downloads her Chrome situation. She's going to be sharing with us her vision for the city, specifically District 7, and a little bit about her story and what has inspired her to run. So if you can just wait a little longer, she'll be joining us soon. In the meantime, I know that you probably are wondering what I'm up to, or maybe you're not, but I'll tell you anyways. On the council, we are, tomorrow we're going to be doing I hope our last working session to pass our language ordinance, our language access ordinance. And we're also going to be booking some working sessions around the commercial vacancies that we held a hearing about earlier, right before the budget. And also, we're going to be hosting a working session around lowering the voting age to 16. As you know, we filed a home rule petition so that we can do just that. Because 16-year-olds deserve the right to vote. A lot of the issues that they're facing deal with their everyday lives, and I think it's important for us to create a platform to be able to do just that, to speak for themselves. So looking forward to hosting them, these series of working sessions so that we can move the work forward. And soon we're going to be releasing some ads around our residential kitchen. As you know, we passed an ordinance, probably, I think April or March. I think it was in March, and it went into effect on April the 30th. It's a new law which will allow people to be able to incubate, literally build their businesses from their homes, specifically their kitchens. You know, everybody's already selling those patties and cakes and all that good stuff. So it's an opportunity for you to take your business and build it right out of your own home. And so we wanted to remove barriers for folks to be able to do just that. And what's really important about that specific effort is that when you think about, we see a lot of the things, intersectionality around these things, because there are a lot of single moms who could build their businesses from their homes, make supplemental income, and also be able to watch their kids. And I think about this as a violence prevention strategy and as a way to close the wealth gap. So I'm hoping that once the information gets put out live, that we'll have lots of people applying and going through that process. We're going to do a series of videos so that you can learn how to do it. And if you're interested, let me check in on my guest. I believe she's texting me. Yes. No. Okay. So no, that's not her. Yes. So, okay. Yeah, maybe I can have her. It would be really bad if she has to call in, but I want her here. Oh, okay. Yes. 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 I'm so glad you made it. How are you?
Good. The lighting is bad, huh? Sorry.
Yeah, it is a little bit, but you're here. You're here. You know, before we dive in to introduce you and all that good stuff, I just wanted to say that I saw you last night at the Greater Boston Labor Council endorsement interview meeting, and you were so super focused. And I saw you walking back and forth really just in really deep thought. And there was just something so beautiful about that I didn't even want to interrupt it, to be honest with you. Because normally when I see you, I roll up on you and I'm like, hey, how you doing? You know, but there was just such an intense, just kind of like focus with you that I just felt like sometimes my energy is a little bit overwhelming, that I didn't want to disrupt that focus that you had, Tanya. And it was just so incredibly beautiful to see, too, your laser focus on showing up in that space. And it was just something that I noticed, and I just wanted to acknowledge and let you know that even though I didn't get to embrace you like I always do, is that there was just something so incredibly like admirable about your ability to center yourself in that space.
Well, I'm very thankful that you feel this way. I'm thankful for you having me on the show, and it's interesting because I wouldn't have thought that anyone was paying attention or observing what I was up to. So just hearing you say that with so much grace, I appreciate you. Thank you.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful to see. I think that those are the moments in the campaign season that often get missed. And those things matter because it goes to show how hard you're working and what this means to you. So I just want you to know that it was felt and seen. So I don't want to occupy too much of your time because I know you're busy. You're working really hard. So this is a very informal conversation. This is just an opportunity for our viewers to get to know you, your journey, what is driving you to run with so much heart, and just to share a little bit about your vision. So before we dive in, so that people can know who the greatness that we have in this room, in the Zoom or whatever it's called these days, tell us a little bit about who you are, where you live, and what inspired you to run.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. The hardest thing I think for women running for office is talking about ourselves and our accomplishments. And that's, of course, this is when we try to draw from that inspiration from women like yourself, and other women of color, other Black women who have paved the way. Just a moment. Are you still with me? Because the screen.
Yes, I
Okay.
wanted. I don't know if you can hear me. I wanted this to be about you. So every once in a while, I will remove myself so that this could be your show, and people don't need to see my face because it's not about me. It's about you. So I am here listening. You could see me in the little screen. I'm shaking my head, but the world can't see me.
Okay. Thank you so much. So speaking of making it difficult for talking about myself, now I have to just look at myself. That's great.
Okay, wait. So then if that makes you uncomfortable, I'll do this. I want you to feel comfortable.
Thank you for your warmth. So I'm an immigrant, right? I came at the age of 10. I was born and raised to the age of 10 in Cape Verde, West Africa. My uncle, who at the time was just 15, raised me with his 6 siblings and my siblings and the maid we couldn't pay for anymore, siblings, the kids, and the dog, the cat, and everybody else. So we were a huge family. I come from a family of altogether about 45, I would dare say, uncles and aunts. So all together, I have about 97 first cousins, not counting my other cousins. So I've always looked at how passionate my uncle was in wanting to live out that legacy. I come to the U.S. I didn't find, gold and glitter on the streets, right, on the pavements. There were no free porcelain dolls anywhere. And so I moved in or reunited with my mom in Roxbury, in Academy Homes housing development. We called it the projects back then. My mother is a very strong, powerful Black woman, very sure of herself. So she's always instilled that in me. My earliest memory is my uncle putting me on the plane and saying, don't forget your brother and sister. So when I got here, immediately I started working. I always tell people a funny story is that I delivered a baby when I was 12 years old. So I got a lot of attention from it. And a woman by the name of Barbara Bullet had, taken notice and became my mentor. She recruited me to be a peer leader at the Roxbury Multi-Service Center.
Okay.
I would go on to working in human service for 29 years from the age of 13. By 15, I had raised enough money to help my mother send for my brother and sister to retrieve them from West Africa. And soon after, I would work at MAPS, Massachusetts of Portuguese Speakers, doing child social work. I would work at DIMIC as a HIV counselor. I would work at Project Hope, working with transition to work, career advocacy with the homeless population there. And I would work at BPS doing family and community outreach coordination, so working to close the achievement gap. I also work with the Parent University, providing teaching ESOL classes. And then I dedicated 7 years in mental health by incorporating myself with an agency that I called Noah's Advocate, and providing third-party billing for therapeutic mentoring and intensive care coordination. Um, After that, I just got, I felt like, hey, I need a little break from human service, just a little break, maybe arts, maybe entrepreneurship. So I taught myself how to sew. I tell people I went to YouTube University and taught myself how to sew. I opened this beautiful store on Dudley Street called Couples Therapy. Many people know me by that. And then I said, all these beautiful women from all influences and background deserve a chance to tell their stories. So I would develop a theater company where I would create, write, produce, direct performance arts and urban theater, more urban plays, fashion shows. I did the Caribbean Carnival, Wakanda. I did galas for interfaith. I did transgender rights awareness fashion show, women empowerment fashion shows. And I would just do like street runway with pop-ups to encourage business and placemaking. And eventually a director at Bowdoin Geneva Main Streets comes up to me and says, hey, you need to do some of this economic development stuff. I think I'm leaving. I think you should interview for this. And that is where I am now. I'm the director of Bowdoin Geneva Main Street, supporting small businesses with technical assistance.
Wow. So, I feel like we've had, our lives are like colliding here. Like, first of all, I came to this country when I was 5, and my parents both left me with my grandparents. So my parents didn't raise me my first formative years. And I came to this country, and I remember the sidewalks being so big, and I was running around in the Dominican Republic without any shoes on. And so I had to wear shoes, and it was very intimidating. But, you mentioned a few organizations that I also worked in HIV and AIDS and the youth development space in particular, and Project Hope and DMIC. And back in the day, this was, I'm not sure at what age, what year, but in the late 90s, I was doing peer education and training young people around peer leadership. And so if you were at DMIC in the 90s, you probably were one of my peer leaders that came to some of the citywide work that we were doing through this other organization that I worked for. And Mariama White Hammond, I don't know if you know, she's Mariama, was a peer leader in one of the programs that we funded citywide programs, and we had 12 HIV and AIDS peer leadership prevention programs. DMIC was one of them, and there was the Ella J. Baker House, and there was a group called Men of Action, and Mariama was the only girl in that group. And so this was a long time ago. So it's just beautiful to see that, and I am a little bit older than you. I just got good melanin, but that young people from that era in the, in the 90s and late 90s, early 2000s, a lot of you all went on to continue to be of service and to utilize your God-given gifts to lead a purposeful life. And it's so beautiful to see your journey in terms of human service, because even the work that you did in the economic space when you were doing your fashion shows were all very intentional, like women empowerment. You've named so many things that it seems like everything that you have done has been with a sense of purpose, right? And that's who you are and how you show up. And I actually met you through Taylor Andre. It was one of your blood. I think it was blood something. It was blood some fashion. What is it?
Blood and Fashion.
Yes, Blood and Fashion. And it was one of your events that you had at the Strand. And I was like in awe of it all. And, I think we had exchanged information. And I think I have you on my phone as Fashion Guru. And so I was just really excited when we got to reconnect in your official capacity for Bowdoin and Geneva Main Street. And so it's just so beautiful to hear what led you there and all of the things that got you there. And so, so thank you so much for sharing so much of yourself with us. And so now the big question is like, when you knew the elections were coming, what were some of the things, what were some of the signs? You know, everybody sees a sign, or like, you know, they get I don't know, everybody has their own aha moment, but like, what was that moment for you when you decided that running for office was the next step in your journey in terms of the work and your life purpose?
I thank you for aligning our journeys. I think that when I'm at the doors with people, if you don't mind, I'd like to just respond to that quickly. When I'm at the doors, I like to say to especially Black women, my fellow sisters, I understand that the African American woman, especially, but African American people have paved the way with blood, sweat, and tears. I understand that we need to pay homage. I understand that this has been a struggle, and that we as Black immigrants have really benefited from that. And so, being your sister, I know that my story is going to not only resonate, but it will reflect as you have aligned your story with mine. And so I allow folks to tell me about them instead, because I know that I will be preaching to the choir. And so, yes, thank you for that, because that's what I try to do too. What I think my aha moment would have been, I prayed about this for about 2 years. I didn't have an epiphany. It wasn't something like it came to a dream, anything cliche like that. It was that I prayed about it because I wanted to know that I was certain that I was going to be sincere about the work, that I was really going to be prepared to be vulnerable, that I was going to open up myself to the public. I'm actually an introvert who has clearly developed skills to do public speaking, or to put myself out there and to do service, right? But naturally, I get very anxious when it's like a lot of people or forums. But one-on-one, I'm great. Like, I love one-on-one conversations, and I love listening. And so when it became clear to me was when my mother-in-law, who passed in February, said to me, and who is my third mentor, I would say third mentor in my life, but really the person who became a mom to me. And she was, I would say, just amazing. Anyway, just getting emotional. She said to me, this is a calling for you, but not in the way that, you know, you're the only one for the job, or that you are perfect for the job, but that you will be fair, and that you don't shy away from hard work, that you will actually execute and help people. And she believed in me, and she said that those are the things that she felt that I would stand for. And I believe her. I agreed, and I felt ready. I felt that the prayers that I was asking God to make it clear, to open up the path so I can see. Then our mayor, Kim Janey, announced that she's running for mayor. I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely a clear sign from God.
Yeah.
Yep. I think I will announce now that I want to run.
You know, it's so funny because I asked about those signs, right? Because sometimes the universe is always speaking to us. It's our ability to be still enough to hear, right? And I love how, you know, you talked about this calling, that you're not the one, and that humility is really important in this work, you know, and understanding that sense of, I've eaten a lot of humble pie my whole entire life, and I'm okay with it. I should be bigger right now of how much humble pie I've eaten in my whole journey in this world. But I think that that ability of being vulnerable is the most important element to being a public servant. because I think that what oftentimes is that people forget that this work is really being of service. And being of service, you have to step out of your own comfort zone, and you also have to recognize that it's never about you. Um, and those are all, I've learned a lot of those lessons in my first term, and I've learned all of those lessons so publicly. And I lean into it, and I think that you, in your spirit and the way that you know are talking about your journey, speaks to that ability to do just that, right? Because I think that people have more grace for you when you're willing to acknowledge, you know, your growth and what you know and what you don't know. And I just don't ever lose that quality, Tanya, because that's really going to be, especially once you get in, right? Is that it's not even about having thick skin, because I've heard everything from everyone on all sides, even people who I thought were like, oh, I thought we were cool. Like, so just always like continue to remain yourself grounded in what your purpose is. And if your heart and your intentions are always pure, everything will always manifest as it should. So always continue to into God and to pray on things, but never lose that humility, because that is what's going to make you. And I'm so glad that your mom-in-law instilled that sense of believing in yourself, in terms of understanding that you will always be fair, because that is what we need more of. So glad that you're walking in with that and covered in that. So you're on that path already. So talk to us a little bit about what are some of your goals and objectives. You know, what are some of your top priorities that you really are going to be championing on the council, and you know what you know about the work. I know I was like, I thought I was going to change everything. I was like, I don't have power to do that. So I've had to have, and that's why we've educated everybody and brought everybody along on our journey, because everything that we learn, we share with our constituents, because I've had a lot. I had a lot of misunderstandings about the job. So I would love to hear what you think about what it is that you can and cannot do, and what are some of the things, knowing what that looks like. What are some of the things that you are going to be pushing for D7? And tell us, you know, the area of District 7, because we have people who are following us across the city, so that they know what neighborhoods you are going to be representing, and all that good stuff. I know it's a lot, but unpack it as you see fit.
Thank you so much. First, thank you for the advice. I've taken mental notes, and I will try to heed to it as much as possible. As far as my priorities, I think I can probably touch 3 top. I have like 100, like you did, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right. But my top 3, definitely housing, quality public education, and of course, public health. Um, I think with housing, we need to be very intentional about practical solutions that addresses equitable development. I think that looks like innovative ideas such as rent to own. If you are renting something, and you know, in the city should not look for private developers to sell to something that they own, the city, it's city owned, we should be able to sell it to the renters, using their rental history as credit, especially with people that face oppressive credits, working with banks, if they want to purchase, to provide that loan, right? And so I also think that we should de-restrict or unrestrict deeds for low-income home ownership. Um, I think we should be able to take out the equity on low-income housing home ownership. We should be able to go and take out the equity and create that generational wealth that we talk about building. We should also be able to look into tax incentives for local residents, residents in Boston. If you own and live in Boston, you should be able to get a tax break. All things that, of course, I think needs collaboration on a state level and a federal level, but possibly even could be done with just city tax, right? So I think that we can also look at land trusts. So collaborating private agencies, activists, nonprofits, and city government in really creating that opportunity for constituents or community folks to benefit. I think that public housing or affordable home ownership really speaks to creating equity and generational wealth, but also creating financial literacy or independence so that folks are looking at other ways. So, does your family have life insurance? Where are you with your finances and investments and retirement? And making sure that our constituents are feeling comfortable in living and leading their lives in their senior years with integrity. I think that we can go into, let me just switch up to education. For example, we need to rehabilitate our education to or our curriculums in order to actually look at holistic approaches to education. If my child doesn't have a place, a bed to sleep in, or if I have to go into a shelter and there's so much chaos to deal with when we get home at night, if I have to worry about what I'm eating or eating at all, then I'm not focusing on the homework. So I think that every child should be connected with resources, so wraparound resources. But mental health in the schools, I think, should take a very critical. We should take a very critical approach to it. So when we're talking about reallocating resources, that we actually couple it or we partner it with family partners, so that we're creating the familial, communal support in the home as well, empowering parents to understand mental health, to understand diagnosis, de-escalating crisis, monitoring behavior, right, in the home, and so that we can avoid some of those circumstances that could potentially turn into biases, right? And so we have to really empower our families, because when we're giving them treatment plans, mental health treatment is holistic. And so we can't just expect social workers to handle it. We have to go in the homes and empower families to advocate for their children. And so resources, I think, with the police, and I know I mentioned health, and I'll touch on that briefly, but just some ideas that I have, I think, is mentorship between police and community. Looking at community policing in a different way means mentorship and actually creating that trust and relationship all over again with the youth. Um, and I have some other ideas about that, but I did promise health. So let me talk about a little bit about that. I think mass and caste is interesting because, and I said this in the forum last week, is that the difference between the crack epidemic and now is our skin color, right? There are delays in executing plans, and we know that zoning may be an issue in terms of where we decentralize services. We know that it's a tough one because we're talking about, oh, there's not enough services. The bridge, we no longer have, Castle Island. We no longer have the Shattuck, or we're not going to have it. So I think looking at best practices, for example, Lisbon, Portugal, who's curbed their addiction problem by 60% within 1 year. And they did just that. They decentralized services. They collaborated with the other cities. They partnered with housing programs, with wraparound services. So mentorship in AA treatment, as well as that wraparound communal support. So your gym, your healthy eating, creating again that holistic approach and that very critical, intentional approach, making sure that we're more effective in service. Those are kind of like the three top priorities for me. But if you have any questions, I'd love to.
Yeah, no, and a lot of these things are interconnected, right? And so being really intentional about weaving that thread and making sure that we're looking at the whole family, the whole child and everything and all the environmental situations that are happening around our community, and treating those things, right? And being really intentional about that. So I love that vision and how all of these things are building upon each other. And as someone who used to do a lot of organizing in the education space, I'm really encouraged around your efforts around the fact that there are a lot of kids who are showing up with a backpack full of trauma, and then we expect them to just show up and do the work, and we're not really being sensitive to the challenges that they face. And so I'm really excited to hear your intentionality around that, because it's definitely a passion of mine. And that mental health piece, I think it's going to be really key as a conversation that I think that we often lose sight of, right? So I'm so incredibly encouraged by your vision and what you are going to be bringing to the council. I do, because normally it's supposed to be until 8:30. I hope my producers don't yell at me, but I am going to take the host privilege of allowing this interview to go a little bit longer, y'all, just because we started a little bit later. So if you could, Tanya, if people wanted to donate, volunteer, get with you, learn a little bit more, how do they do that?
Well, first off, we're having our campaign kickoff tomorrow. You're invited. I would love to send you a flyer. It's been madness, and finding a campaign manager. Finally, I found one a few weeks ago, and he is absolutely amazing. We have a very ambitious campaign going, and our goals were very aggressive in terms of phone calling and door knocking. I would appreciate any efforts that people can give me or give the campaign. If they can either contact me at Tanya at Tanya4D7. So the number 4, the letter D.
I'm gonna write it. So Tanya at
Tanya4D7. So all social media at gmail.com. No, that's .com. At Tanya47.com.
Okay. And then is that your socials too?
All social media handle is Tanya47.com.
Oh, so your social media handle and your website. So it's easy for people.
And my email.
And your email. Okay. Okay, good. So you are making it easy for people to connect, already doing what is necessary to connect with your constituents. So I just put it up. I'm going to show it and make sure that I wrote it right. Did I write it right? Because sometimes I can't see.
The 4 is the number 4.
Okay, so let me hide that, because we don't want and let me delete it, because I don't want people to. Okay, I just deleted it. Okay, so it's Tanya, the number 4.
Yes.
D7.com.
Correct.
Okay, so hell no, I'm not sure. I made a mistake. I can't see. Everybody knows that I have bad eyesight. D7.com. Okay, now I'm gonna put this up, and I want you to. Did I do it right?
That's my website.
Okay, with my little mousy ear eyes. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. And so on the website, you can do a donation. Tomorrow we're having a campaign kickoff. So if folks wanted to come by and hear more about me and what I'm about, I would love to expand on how I want to create accountability. I think that re-campaigning and door knocking again and getting to the doors so that folks can understand civic engagement. I think a lot of us use catchphrases like accountability and transparency without actually equipping our constituents with the tools to hold us accountable. I propose going back to the doors, knocking again once a week. So for 2 years, your city council, God willing, me would go back to your door and say, here's a package. This is my job description. This is what I'm working on. Very measurable goals. Creating a platform, an actual website that people can see the needle moving, right? So that people can say, okay, I can actually measure that. I understand what she's doing. I understand what she does. I understand how she serves me and exactly how to contact her. We need to be very clear. And I think transparency looks like building that relationship. And if you trust me, once we have that constituent council relationship and you trust me, then you have more faith in local government. What amazing, right? Mind blowing. Oh my God, what a world it would be to increase our voter turnout, to make sure that we're looking out for our marginalized population, the people, and while we do this fight. I thank you so much, Julia, for your time. I hope you can attend. I know it's last minute. I'm so sorry. I
It's
am.
okay. Don't be sorry. Listen, so first of all, I got geeked up when I heard you talking about this accountability and transparency in city government in particular, because when I ran in 2019, it was really about civic engagement and how do we create opportunities for people. And, we had this vision around a scorecard, but then COVID hit and everything that we had to do was under COVID, but we seized that opportunity to be at the doors to disseminate information to people in their native language. We found other ways to connect. We translate not just in terms of the language, but complicated, information, because we make it harder for people to be engaged. And so with the budget, we did budget pop-ups. We were in the hood, in the barbershops, in the hair salons. These are your dollars. How do you want us to spend it? And like, for the first time, people were like, no one's ever asked me that. I didn't even know this, right? And so to have a partner in the space who's thinking, aligned with that, I think we need more of that. I think that people need to understand that the work that we do is to be of service to our constituents and connecting people to resources and removing barriers to engagement. And so I'm so excited to hear your vision for what that looks like. And what you talked about, knocking on all the doors, we did, but it was more COVID specific. And because we couldn't really be out into these streets until recently, I'm really looking forward to having a normal, a regular term. I feel like everybody thinks that I'm an incumbent. I'm like, I'm a watered down incumbent, because first of all, we only won by one vote. Then we didn't even get comfortable in the seat that we fought so hard to get into. And then COVID came and we had to take our whole entire staff remote, and we had to work under these different circumstances. And I feel like, God willing, 2022 is going to give us an opportunity to really do the work and take the work to another level. I mean, we've done a lot in 17 months. People are like, we have an 87-page PowerPoint of everything that we've done in our first year. That doesn't include this year yet. That's just in the first year. And so that accountability piece, Tanya, that you talked about, is letting people know what you're up to, because they pay for our salaries. And they need to know that the work that they're paying for, those services are being rendered. And I think that is what's going to help restore trust in government, and having more people with that intentionality is going to get us there. So I'm so excited about that vision, because that gets me geeked out, because that is where my heart is. That's what I love. And so I'm like, more people like you doing that work is really like exciting.
One final thought, if I may.
Yes. Somebody told me I did it wrong. Oh, no. She's educating me. Okay. I got it right. I'm going to put hers on, just in case she might know better than me. And I see someone, my Emerge sister. So we're all sisters. And I got Josette Williams.
Oh,
another Emerge alum. Who
so Shalair, thank you, sis. She is a fellow John D. O'Brien graduate.
Okay.
Where I graduated. Thank you so much, sis. Love you. And Josette and everyone. Just a final thought, if I may.
Absolutely.
I think that a lot of the times when we're talking, we forget about, when we talk inclusivity, we are not talking enough about people with disabilities. We're not talking about making these meetings and things accessible to the blind, the deaf, and we need to do better at that. And the other thing is, I think our seniors, oh my God, as I am going to different senior homes, seniors are very dear to my heart, because I feel like I'm a very old person inside, in my spirit, or I should say mature. I'm so sorry. And I think that we need to do a better job with senior programs. There's so much disparities in our senior homes, especially in District 7 in the Roxbury area. And when you go into South End, it's like two different worlds. That type of systemic racism, that type of segregation, that type of disparity, polarization is absolutely not okay. And I'm here to tell you that we want to speak very boldly about racism. We want to talk about disparities. with courage, irrespective of the audience, no matter who's listening. We want to talk about empowering our community with the tools and making sure that everyone has human rights, irrespective, again, of our disagreements or what we, our opinions. I think we can coexist. I think we can build equitable solutions for everyone. And I think we can be all inclusive. And as long as we do it with love and compassion, and as long as we are patient with perpetual dialogue, we can get there.
Yes, I love it. I'm encouraged by all of it. And I will just say that, you know, I was getting goosebumps when you were talking about that importance of like really being inclusive, and the whole disabilities piece is that, you know, we filed a language access ordinance, but it was just about interpretation and translation. And we were trying to push this whole idea around the fact that there are a lot of people who are even struggling to read and write, even in their own native language. And so if we're really serious about an inclusive Boston, that we need to pour in some resources to help support people who have learning disabilities, or different learning styles. And that fact that you're bringing in elders into the conversation, intergenerational, I was getting goosebumps. So thank you, first of all, for not only just joining us here, but for deciding to run. I made a commitment that this space here, you know, it's Woke Women Wednesdays. We talk all things Black and brown, because that's all what this work is all about. And so for me, you know, and I know I'm only profiling women on this show, and it's because it's Woke Women Wednesdays, right? So a lot of the guys are like, yo, when am I gonna get? I'm like, listen, I have love for everybody, because, you know, everybody knows my mantra is all means all. But to have a space dedicated to women who are running and creating this type of environment, because you don't have an opportunity, because you're running these forums, they give you like 10 seconds to introduce yourself, and right, and this is just a great opportunity, right? It's crazy. So I hope that, you know, you utilize this interview as a way to uplift your vision and, you know, what you're bringing to the table, and I'm glad that we have the opportunity to do just that. And so maybe, I know I got all the guys that are running like, yo, what is up with you? So I may have to do a special just for the guys, because everybody's blowing up, you know.
Bring them all together, and then only give them 60 seconds.
That's right.
Kidding, guys.
That's right. That's a great idea. I think I'm going to have to do that, just because it's all about being equitable. But just wanted to, again, Tanya, thank you so very much for joining us. Running, I think, is the best thing that we can do for ourselves, because we learn so much about who we are, how we show up, and it also teaches us about who shows up for us, right? Like, you're gonna come across so many people that you didn't even know that love your message and love what you're doing, and they're gonna wanna join you because of you. And then you're gonna call them some people, they're like, I got, you know, so you're gonna find, and it's not because they don't want you and to help, or they don't love you. It's just that we have a very different network, and, you know, this is not the norm for people in our neighborhood. But I hope that as you continue to go on this journey, never leave yourself at the door to make other people feel comfortable. Show up all in who you are, remain grounded, you know, and always being fair, okay? Because that is the advice that you received from your mother-in-law, and know that your passion and what leads you will always guide you, and will keep you grounded in goodness. So thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you. You're too kind. Thank you.
No. Stop it. You're getting lots of love out here. So thank you. We will see you all. I'm going to do a little commercial about what's next. You are free. You can go to another forum if you need to, but lots of love to you, and I'll see you on the campaign trail.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Okay,
Peace and love.
Bye. All right, guys. So, this is Woke Women Wednesdays when we talk about all things the Black and Brown breakdown. Next week, we are going to be interviewing another D7 candidate, Marissa Luce. So join us at 8:00 p.m. And don't forget, every Wednesday morning at 11, you wake up with my sister in service, Senator Diane Wilkerson, where she gives you the tea on all things Black and Brown. So thank you so very much. And don't forget to always stay woke. Lots of love. Be good to you. Bye.